OBS? Yes, OBS is recording. Alright. Hi everyone, it's me, Bear Squared. Hope you're having a nice day. So I'm just going to be playing some Casualties Unknown while discussing just some things about it, I think. You know, like, things I think could maybe make it better. Just, like, stuff in general like that. So, and again, take all this with a grain of salt. This game is still in demo. I know, right? Strange saying that to a computer program, but... Well, guess let's get into it, since what else is there to do? Actually, during the recording, which doesn't make much sense, honestly. And, oh wait, I missed something. What is it? Some kind of medicine. Anyway, I'm getting distracted by playing the game. So this is a good game, and I like it. It's again still in demo, and like this is a good example. I'm sweating. You see, a core feature of this game is the dynamics, I would say, how the XPs react to your actions, and how, like, they will refuse actions. It separates the player and the character some. And this is not something I'm upset with. I think this is a good choice, and that this was just a good choice on the death part. But when the XPs die, I feel somewhat sad, but I have a hard time feeling truly bad, because at the end of the day, I know I've read the wiki, I know that these lines exist, I know this isn't a unique... It is hard for me, as somebody who likes to just analyze things, to be able to, I guess, relate, have empathy. I think this would be the right word for it. Have empathy for the XPs, because of the simple fact, the matter of the fact is, at the end of the day, I know that they're not unique. They feel unique, but something in the back of my mind is always saying, this isn't, like, you don't have to feel too bad, because it's not, I have a hard time feeling like the XPs are real intelligences, and, like, you're not going to be able to do that. Even with the method I'm going to discuss, you're not going to get a true, real intelligence, but there's only so many lines of dialogue, you know, the programmers have been able to write in, and that's fine. But because of that, it's harder for me to view the XP as a independent consciousness. It's hard to describe, but I have trouble viewing them as human or sentient, I guess would be the right word. And so there is a way that you can try and solve this issue. Now, so some of you might already predict what I'm going to say. This is, of course, artificial intelligence. Now, well, yes. Still, for me, personally, there would be the nagging thought of, oh... Well, actually, I'll get into the nagging thought, in a second. So, the XPs right now, they're not... Again, they're not intelligent. Well, they're intelligent, but they're not sentient. We've discussed this. But, and they're not as dynamic as I would personally like. But then again, some people will disagree on my views of how this game should be built. And of course, like, I'm just saying, like, I think this would be an interesting idea. What if the XP's dialogue wasn't dictated by dialogue lines, but by a neural network. Because think about it, that would lead to much more unique circumstances, and using some parameters, you can make it so that each AI has their own kind of unique personalities. This means that when an XP dies, you are losing a unique personality that you may never get again. Which adds another level of just essentially emotion. Because now, I feel like I'm losing something. If I die in this game, I'm not losing out on any dialogue. There isn't unique dialogue I'm going to be missing out on if I die. I can always get that back. But in that case, that neural network gets completely wiped. You're not getting that back. That XP is truly dead. You can try as hard as you like, but you're not going to get an identical copy. And this can be further, I would say, made prevalent, I guess, by making the XPs have, kind of journals. These journals are stored in text files, encrypted to some level, just so that the player can't spy on it. I mean, players will be able to find a way to spy on it, but at least make it a little bit harder. And so make the XPs have journals. And in the normal game, you can't read this. But if the XP were to die, they would drop the journal. And you would be able to read what they were thinking while you were playing that you couldn't normally see on the surface. And this means it could, bring back memories, And again, make it feel even more like they were a real consciousness. Now, some people will debate this might be too much. And that is a fair assessment, and I can kind of see where that point is coming from. But I think that the game could possibly benefit from that. But this comes at a very big risk, as discussed by Dosh Doshington in his video. You should check that one out. It's a great video. About how now you've added something for the player to inflict pain upon. Making the XPs that much more dynamic makes that inflicted pain seem much more real. Which gives people something even more alive to torture, theoretically. So, the crazies can inflict more pain and suffering on, which is a potential concern with doing that. Because when you think about it, right now, you can already somewhat inflict pain on the XPs. But at the end of the day, they're not unique. Or not in the sense we think of unique. Doing what I'm suggesting makes... Oh, shoot. It's gonna be okay. Makes each XP more unique, which makes that inflicted pain that much more real. Oh, and I'm going to oh no. And this makes this inflicted pain that much more real. And that is something you don't want to give. What I thought it was. That's something you don't want. Like that could be very risky, I will say. But there's no way to stop people from torturing the XPs. There just really isn't a good, efficient way of doing it. But with what I'm suggesting, you can make it more the death that much more punishing. Which the game I feel like the game is already punishing enough, but if you truly want to make people feel a moral obligation to make sure, like, for example, once this game has an end, that would be massive, because that means once you reach the final, once you complete the game, now suddenly all those XPs that have died didn't just die for nothing. So making the XPs that much more feel like realistic could make it feel that if you just stop now and leave the game, their lives have been essentially wasted. Their sacrifices have been in vain. Which I think could be a very powerful tool in order to keep people playing. And that's goals of the game, to make them more popular in play. This, of course, does have to come up with some limits. And there's one big limit. First off, the algorithms I'm talking about would be very complex. And getting them to work without using a mainstream AI thing for simply cost reasons would be very difficult to do performance efficient wise, since you would have to make this pretty efficient, I would say. Alright, you know, we're gonna give our XP a little bit of a break. So again, this is definitely a gambit. And like, yeah, we're leveling up all this res, aren't we? Like, it's definitely a risky move, but if done right, could pay off tremendously, I feel. But that is my personal opinion. So again, take this all with, like, you know, grains of salt, all that good stuff. Like, remember that. Like, this is just what I think the game could benefit with. And this is definitely something that is a very interesting line between, like, oh, that's cool. Like, does this go too far? And I feel that it could maybe go into the, place of too far land. Because it does feel like it could be susceptible to, like, kind of being taken as going too far. But, again, all that suffering is optional. And when they die, that is your fault. And so, like, right now, when you quit mid-run, you die. Now, I think what could be better and benefit by this thing, essentially this idea, is what if the XP is instead kind of left alone? Kind of. It feels like instead of them just dying, they are left by the the player has instead left them to fend for themselves. And this could be used in a very interesting way. With the player now abandoning it, that could be reflected in the journal, and they eventually, you know, die without the player's guidance. Which could make them, you know... Which could make them feel, you know... essentially could guilt trip them by, you know, feeling that they abandoned this creature in their hour of need, which I think could also motivate the player to, you know, play for longer and see things through to the end. To stay with them even while they're dying. Now this does come with some, and again, there should be, like, I do like this addition of a pause menu, and because the game simply needs that. You know, people have commitments. And so I'm not saying just make it so that you can't, you know, just pause the game anytime because, again, people have commitments and we should accommodate that. You know, I'm not saying, like, and, you know, some people have jobs that aren't playing games all day, or maybe can't do that. And that's fine. And that's why I actually like the inclusion of, you know, fast forward stuff, because it makes things just nice and easy to use. Ooh, I'm getting EP. And, like, this concept has some really powerful potential to make the player feel more obligated to continue playing the game through moral obligation. And, like, listen, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but I'm saying if your idea of a good thing is to keep players continually playing your game, then it's a pretty good idea. If you want players to keep playing your game, adding something that makes them feel morally obligated to keep playing your game, pretty effective, I would say. But that's just, you know, my opinion, because if I feel I have a moral obligation to something, I'm probably going to try and do it. At the very least. And, if you can incorporate that into a game, well, suddenly, now people will want to continue playing their game since, you know, they feel like they have a moral obligation to do so. I mean, this doesn't work for everybody, but then again, you can't make a game that's perfect for every person in the world. You simply can't. You can't please everyone, as they say. But if you make people feel morally obligated to keep playing your game, well, then even if they don't like it, they might still keep trying to play it. Or keep at least playing it. I mean, how do you really fail at playing a game? I guess you could say you played wrongly, but I don't think there is a wrong way to play a game. Like, whether you're doing something correctly is kind of in the eye of the beholder. Like, oh, game crashed. Oh, shit. Like, you can say that, like, you know, you're eating salad wrong, but, like, who decides that? Society? Anyway, I'm getting off onto a tangent, you know? And, like, and as I said, like, what I just did there, I did Alt F4. I didn't crash. I mean, because I feel guilty knowing that I killed them. But I would feel much more guilty if instead they were left alone instead of just dying. Because, in a way, this game ends in death. Right? Like, no matter what you do in this current stage, it ends in death. No matter what you do. Giving them a quick death in this game, or a happy death, is a mercy. Giving them a slow, painful death and leaving them to fight for themselves would make you feel a lot worse, I think. But right now, that doesn't exist. For all I know, they succeeded in their mission. But if I know that I'm going to find a journal saying, yeah, they died, well, now suddenly feeling a little bit more guilty there, bud. And guilt is a very powerful tool and weapon. Ooh. Gun. I am an American after all. I must have the gun. Alright. And like, I forgot. Sorry, that distracted me. I forgot my train of thought. But like, right. Guilt is a very can be weaponized and used as a tool, and this is a great example of how if you could use it properly, it is a very powerful tool in this case, because you are now again giving the player a moral obligation to keep playing, and through guilt, and to see it through to the end. Because now, you can't just have the XP, you can't show them kindness. You have to abandon them, or see it through. Which, adds guilt. I don't want to have to just abandon them and leave them to suffer and die a horrible death. You'll now want to see it through. Now, this, of course, means that players could instead just throw themselves off a cliff, for example. But you can't do anything to stop that. Then you cause issues with the design of the game. And you're not going to be able to fix that. You're just not. Very good. Now we have done. Thank you, Mookie. Thank you for the rifle. And like that's the issue with, making game design choices like that. The players can just, in a game like this, the players can just choose to ignore what you want and do their own thing. But then, that's their choice. They feel it is morally better. If they feel it's morally better to do that, then that's their choice. You have given them all the freedom to do whatever they want, pretty much, within the constraints of a survival situation. Then if they want to commit suicide, well, then that's their choice. If they want to lead the XP to their death, and now there is one feature that I'm not entirely, the idea I have sounds cool, but from how the game is designed, I'm not entirely on board with it. You could make it so that you could talk with the XP. This comes at the cost of being a very risky gamble, considering the XP is supposed to be alone in this, and how do you properly incorporate that? The best way I can think of it, somebody can probably think of it better, is to make it so that you kind of a voice inside their head telling them what to do, but still making it so that, you can talk with them is still a very risky move, just in terms of how the game is designed. And I would warn against it. Because it would be a very, very big gamble considering how the game is designed, and I don't know how well it would be received. I think it could get a lot of criticism. And I mean, that applies to a lot of features, but that feels like an especially risky one. And I just want to, caution, if you know how to do it right, then do it. But if you think you could end up causing a lot of community backlash, you probably shouldn't do it. This just applies to a lot of things. Like, if you think, doing something in video game design will cause insane amounts of backlash in your community, that's probably a sign you shouldn't try and do it. That should just be a general rule of thumb. In game design and just in general. If you think the community will hate you for doing something, that means you probably shouldn't do it. Just a good rule of thumb for life, I would say. And yeah, but if you can do it right, I'd say that could also be theoretically very powerful. And that could so much more enhance the game. But again, that is, I would say, of all the features I've discussed, the riskiest feature, I would argue. because that could be very badly received, and that would be a very major change in kind of the design of the game and the kind of how I feel the game functions. Like, you are now changing it from the XP being alone to the XP having someone to talk to. And while, yes, you can write it off in sort of lore reasons, it still feels like it strays away from the purpose, in my opinion. But if you think you can do it right, I would say demo is the time to test it. The demo is for experimenting around with ideas, after all. So if you think you can do it properly, then devs, I would say try it just for a little bit. Like, although of course this would first require the neural network stuff. But if you want to do that, I try it and see how the community reacts. To be honest, that'd be my best advice. Still, you know, a little bit unsure about it. I personally don't know how I'd feel if the devs did that. Because, again, a really cool idea. But then again, it feels so out of place for what this game is. It just does. It feels so, like, kind of out of, like, it feels so kind of random. And, yeah, I'm just a little bit conflicted on that again, but it would be really interesting. But then there's at some point where you might as well just, oh no, But then again, there will be some times to where this just, like, this could be received badly, and there's just a lot. It'd be a very, very risky move. And that's why I would, you know, again, caution the devs. Kind of against it. But if you can do it properly, it would be good. And I definitely do like this game. I will also say though, please make it so that the blueprints can't teach you things you don't already know. Like, for example, you can already craft I could already craft biochem fluid and I got a blueprint. Actually, I guess that makes sense because you can go back to 0 XP. So no, that does make some. Oh, drill. Still though, for that, I think it should be based on intelligence. What the blueprints could teach you, honestly. I think that should be how it works. Just so it doesn't feel as weird when the blueprint tells you how to make a biochem fluid when you already know how to do that. Just feels a little bit like being told to do something I already know how to do. Jeez, this drill is loud. Huh, who could have guessed? Drill is loud? What? Ow. Like, definitely feels weird, being able to be taught with stuff like this. It just feels a little bit strange. That's really all I wanted to go over this video. I'm not gonna edit this. I don't feel like I need to. Like, have a good day. Probably gonna post this in literally 5 minutes, I would imagine, since I don't feel the need to edit this, since this kind of discussion video. I didn't read this off script or anything. It was just some things I thought about, decided to make a video on. So, just have a good day.